You ready for that?
No.
Okay, so
Oh.
what's up, internets? I'm Bailey with Marching into Madness, and this week we have some tough topics to talk about. Now, it's something that probably everyone relates to, but nobody wants to talk about. So, let's get censored by YouTube and Twitch. Today, I got Raza, as always. He's just ignoring me playing Spider-Man, but that's okay. That's his job. Say hi, Raza.
Hello, internet.
Okay, then we got our almighty wine mom here to help make sure that we don't go off the rails and don't insult anyone about their choices. Say hi, wine mom.
Absolutely not.
Hi.
Okay, so this sensitive topic that I don't even know how to navigate the intro. That's why I'm stuttering through this, because I'm literally anxious about how to approach it. Is something that, like, as we're all getting the little jabs in the arm, we're dealing with the big deadly thing out there that's like creeping up on all of us that I don't even have to name to identify.
Taxes.
Yeah, taxes, definitely taxes. So as tax season is upon us, we're trying to evaluate how to best keep society safe, and
make
whether
sure we don't get audited.
yeah, you don't want to get audited, because if you get audited, it's done, right? So let's say you're worried about your tax man, you're worried about getting audited, and the government has best prescribed that you should go in and get something to protect you from that. Okay, we all have the difficulties of someone in our life who may be adverse to getting that credit check that they need to avoid the tax man. So
That's a good analogy. He's doing really well. I like it. I'm enjoying.
Thank you. So if the tax man is upon us, and you've got some friends who are being a little slow to like get their books together, how do you have that conversation with them in a fair and just way? Because not everyone is like anti-taxes, you know? Some people just kind of like hate the government, right?
Yeah.
Kind of like me, so that's why I empathize a lot, because there's been a lot of bullshit that's gone on in our lives, and all of a sudden we're just supposed to trust that the tax man has our best interest in mind.
I mean,
We love the government.
Wait, I forgot that we're still okay. We're not talking about taxes. I was about to get into a whole spiel about.
Oh my god. No, but basically the question is, how do you have that conversation with a friend who doesn't want to go get audited or protected from auditing?
Yeah, I wanted to start there. Yeah, like how do you start the conversation?
How do you get your loved one to step into H&R Block? That's the question.
Yeah.
Right. I have no idea. It's actually it's hard, because I have quite a mixed group of friends. I think a lot of the people I know are not working right now. So it's a bit of like, they don't sense the urgency, because they're like, I'm self-isolating, I'm not going anywhere, my circle is like 2 people, it's not a big deal, I can wait it out. Because I think there is a lot of genuine concerns over, I guess, the speed of what's being given out. So yeah. I respect it, and I get it, and I honestly, I feel the same that they do. It does feel a little bit fast, it's a little bit scary, but there's some things in life that you kind of have to do, and it's hard. It's hard because you don't want to push your opinion on someone, because especially with this situation, it can literally make or break friendships. And I think it's just as bad as, like, I know we've talked about this before, not just with, I guess, the stab in the arm, but also just with the way that people have been handling themselves over the pandemic. Like, I have had to, as I've told you guys, block and unfollow lots of people that I considered my friends, because they were unsafely traveling throughout the pandemic. And, I had lost an uncle, and none of us could go to the funeral because of what was going on. So it's hard, because you want to approach them with empathy and be like, I understand all of your concerns, but this is why you should do it. And I think now more than ever, with the current updates of Delta, it's really, we shouldn't really still be having these conversations of if or when. More just like sooner versus later, which makes it even more difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with that, and that's the complicated part I'm at, because I sit in the weird middle of, like, I as the journalist, as someone who values resources and facts, and I've been screwed over by the system my whole life. I'm hesitant to just say, like, oh yeah, let's do it, let's trust them, but at the same time, like, who am I? Is just lowly old me gonna be the one that's like, oh, my internet knowledge is now superior to that of all the scientists who worked on this in a lab for quite a considerable time and probably lengthy hours, very stressed out. Right?
You know, there's a lot of controversy around it, right? And, like, I'm not gonna come out here and spit hardcore facts that I just don't have. But based off the knowledge that I do have from the little bit of information that I was able to, I guess, somewhat verify, is that it's not like they just woke up yesterday and were like, let's put a bunch of stuff and give it to you. It's something that they have been working on since, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, since SARS.
No, you're right.
You know, it's not like, yes, it sounds scary because they're like, okay, let's rush it's almost as if they're rushing the last stage of the project. And so everyone's like, oh, it's like, it's being so rushed, but it's not. They really just took something that's currently a problem and added it to what they've already been working to solve. So it's like, I get why you're scared, but, like, stop for a second and maybe ask the right questions. Like I told you guys, I spoke to my doctor and I was like, tell me what's good, because I'm not making any decisions unless you give me the honest truth, right?
Oh, yeah. Like...
Yeah. Go, Raza.
It's like we don't, like, we all want to believe we are right about this. Like, we all have opinions and stuff, and we all want to follow a certain a movement. But, like, when we see, like, our cases are going up, people are now not caring anymore, is because you're hyping it up. So when the media hypes it up, the people who are less hesitant to get it will have a reason to not, even more of a reason to not get it. So, like, I think when the media does it, it like makes things a lot harder for us and people, because they don't care about the bigger picture. We do. Shit.
Yeah, it's always the don't be a sheeple crap.
Yeah.
And it's like, maybe you should, like, come out of your weird Alex Jones world and just be rooted in reality for like 10 fucking minutes.
Thank you. Because no, you ready? You're okay. You ready for my... If you're in Alex Jones world and you're realistic about it, right? This is me as a veteran conspiracy theorist. All these countries, like you said, they've been working on it since SARS. You're telling me all these countries that we're blaming China, we're blaming this, you're telling me that the US wasn't researching it? You're telling me that the UK wasn't researching it? So, yeah, it was rushed. But you're telling me, as a conspiracy theorist, you're telling me that all the governments of the world also were totally, like, not working on this and not prepared. Like, that's what it cheeses me, that it's like, oh, it's... You're also saying use sheeple. But if you really believe that shit, then they're fully prepared for it. So your opinions are contradictory.
Yeah. That's what, like, the anti-masker movement, it is kind of hypocritical.
Oh my god.
Because, like, they are against, don't get the shot, as they say on their iPhone, with their, I assume that they're paying a monthly plan on, right? So to say, like, oh, the government is watching you and that shit, and, like, who is, like, and all that ship has sailed, right?
Yeah.
They're like trying to make up excuses at this point, and
oh yeah,
any anti-maskers like literature, it's not based on much. Like it's only based on anecdotal evidence. There's nothing empirical, practical. I mean, there's nothing like that going on. It's all
Mhm.
like the small, very rare thing. It's like, okay, look, this is what happens. Boom,
I
Hmm.
mean,
we're on a bed.
the whole anti-mask thing for me, I think is it's just the like to me it outlines the epitome of stupidity. Like it really does. Because you're sitting here
Mhm.
being like, "Oh, I'm not having my rights taken away by wearing a mask." Blah 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 blah. It's like, okay, if you are truly a genuine conspiracy theorist, a mask only works in your fucking favor because then
Yeah,
cameras can't see your face. But not
yeah,
only that, you're gonna complain about wearing a mask, but yet do you wear your shirt and shoes when you go into a store for
yeah.
service? That is a government
Yep.
mandate, pal. That's not just
Mhm.
something they do because the store doesn't want to see your titties, okay? Like, have a little bit of grounded reality. Like, are you gonna start
Mhm.
walking around naked now? No, you're not. So, like, relax. It's a piece of fucking fabric, which technically is working in your favor. It's
Yeah.
protecting your face.
Yeah. Go.
And on top of that, like it brings up like I'm noticing this new argument. There's a
Hmm.
in the anti-mask movement. There's privilege. There's this low key because a lot of the anti-maskers are like white people, but
Yeah.
uh uh I'm seeing this narrative, as Weinman said, the rights are being taken away. Our rights are being taken away as they're protesting the third Sunday of June or July. They're still going out shopping. What are they being oppressed? Right?
Yeah.
If a cloth is offensive to you, then you should not be able to deal with society. You shouldn't be in society. I'm not.
That's
Right.
that's what
It's
I
just like,
so go. It's that divide. That's what is highlighted to
Hmm.
me. Is that divide of that? That's what they care about, Raza. That's what they care
Mhm,
about. They want to
mhm,
go out. They want it's patio season. I need to go to
mhm,
IKEA. I need to
mhm.
buy more things. Why
Yeah.
can't you let
And
me buy more things? And that's
yeah,
the difference in our values.
yeah, and then I see the thing. They're like, "Oh, we're being like, oh, we're being oppressed." Communist Canada. I'm thinking, Communist Canada. Really? I'd
Right.
fucking be stoked on that if that happened. But no,
Like,
we're not fucking Communist Canada. We're fucking the most open society, open society in the world. And the only thing the government is telling you to do is wear a cloth and to get
yeah.
a little jabby jab. You get a flu shot, right? What's the
Yeah.
difference? Is the 5G in the flu shot now? Oh, and then the other thing, if people are so afraid of 5G, where was this alarm for the first floor? Where was the craziness, the aloofness or
Yeah.
the misinformation
See,
of
that's
this?
I'll even expose myself, and that's why I have empathy. Is like I didn't get the flu shot prior. I used to not get the
Yeah.
flu shot. I
Mhm,
was against that shit. This whole
mhm, you
thing
were.
severely influenced my opinion on that as a whole.
Yeah.
But I mean, even me, I was the type of like, oh no, that's. I thought the flu shot was that conspiracy of like like yeah, they're just telling us that we need to get this fucking thing every year because
Right.
like I've never
Mm,
got it. My people in my family
yeah.
don't get it. I was I was unaware of the carrier that I'm affecting people without knowing. I was aware of the many details that I am now aware of. But that's why I
Yeah.
have empathy because I think it's very fair and right for many people of a certain world to be doubting the efficacy of this situation.
I think it's okay to be confused, but
Yeah.
I think it's your responsibility to seek out answers. So, like, yeah, I have the same empathies that you do. Like, if you're confused and you are seeking, more information, then I can respect that, right? It's like when people start talking about all the weird things like chemtrails and aliens and weird stuff in our water and like microchips in masks, it's like, what planet are you resided on? Because it is not
Yeah.
the one that everybody else is on. It's
Yeah.
it just does not make sense to me the way that people panic over like identity things and like just the way that the system works, when you literally carry around a direct connect to the government in your pocket, you have one sitting on your desk at home, like they're monitoring things all the time. If you're really that scared, go off grid, you know? Like
Mhm.
it's not what you think it is.
Yeah, and like yeah, it's just like it isn't like we like in like here we like to think we're kind of selfish here. Like we think
Hmm.
it's affecting my rights. It's affecting my ability and my freedoms, which A, that whole narrative is kind of offensive. If like being a like nobody's being our rights are being taken away. Nothing is happening. We're
Right.
just being told to wear a mask and get these shots. That's all that's happening. But on the other side, the fact like I do kind of low-key agree with like the businesses trying to keep themselves safe and trying to keep others safe and saying you
Yeah.
can't come here unless you don't have a shot or tax return.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm in
Because
this
like at the end
weird.
of the day, it's about safety and stuff. It's about
Yeah.
like I understand that the whole narrative. Oh, the conspiracy theory nuts. There's always going to be those people in every sort of like event in history. There's always going to be that other side.
Yeah.
But like you have to go with what you believe is right as an individual, and then you do your own judgment calls. You do your own thing. But if you see something that isn't right and factually isn't right, and you actually have concrete evidence that argues that, then you can be like, wait a second, maybe we should look at this more. But anti-maskers, their narrative isn't like there isn't really much of an argument there.
Yeah.
Every conspiracy theory is being strained now is because there's counters of it now.
Yeah.
So if we go down too deep a rabbit hole, I'm workshopping this idea. We can stop me and move to the next topic. But what I'm trying to solve is the middle line between both the points that you're making. Like Wine Mom saying that people are just confused,
Mhm.
and then Raza saying like the facts are out there.
Mhm.
Well,
How do you
this.
know? No. So my line is
Mhm.
like as something as us as people on the internet streaming.
Yeah.
Something the three
Yeah.
of us are well aware of is the level of tech savvy of these people. So not critiquing like some journalism. You need to know your sources. Of like this person thinks the articles they are seeing on their Facebook feed, they think it's fair.
It's
They
real.
think
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, yeah.
it's unbiased. They think
Mhm.
it's just what the internet is.
I mean,
So
I
you
have this.
have to, in order to teach these people, you have to fucking
Mhm.
find that. You have to teach them that whole other category of knowledge before you even get to the vaccines shit.
See,
Yeah.
I hear you, but I feel like specifically in Canada, I cannot speak for outside of Canada. I can only speak for inside of Canada because of my like growing up here and being affected by the system. Like we have universal healthcare, and
Mhm.
it's not going to continue to be affordable if we keep overburdening that system. And this
Mhm.
is like because people who are working in the healthcare, they're saying like, yeah, it seems all fine and pretty on the outside, but like we have people who are in our healthcare, like intensive healthcare units that should not be here. And
Mhm.
they're extremely overburdened. So it's like if you want to just look at the big picture of things, it's like do you want to continue to have universal health care, or would you prefer the government start charging us all for our health care because none of us are being responsible and following the
Yeah.
very small regulations that they're actually giving us? Like that's it. Like do you what do you want? You want to keep it or no?
Which I agree with you, but it's the same
Mm-hmm.
bubble. Like, how's your homie supposed to check that if they don't know how, if they think what they're reading on Facebook is true? How's your homie supposed to read that if they're saying it's
Every
all, you know what I mean? Like,
every right.
how the fuck do you teach them to filter the information that's valid
And that's
to
not
arrive
Ignore
at
the
your decision?
information. That's how I
so, but
feel.
can I just
Yeah, go
so
ahead.
no no kid but here's the thing really but like the issue with that isn't your homie. The issue is with Facebook and Twitter. It's their
Yeah.
responsibility to be like, why are they're being sued right now for misinformation, right? So why are they're if your homie actually saw factual evidence on this, then on Facebook, and it was correct evidence, then their mind could change. But the fact that they're seeing more and more and more misinformation, that's becoming baked into their mindset
Right.
Yeah.
and
I
their
just
worldview.
feel like
Yeah.
human nature, right? When you don't know something, and we've talked about this before, as a child, you don't know something. What is the first thing that you guys do? If you when you're a kid and you don't know, a legitimate question here, when you're a kid and you don't know the answer to something, what is the first thing you do?
Ask a parent, an
Ask,
adult.
but
Right.
that's not.
You
I don't
go
think
to
that's
mom
everybody's
or
answer.
dad. No, but
Yeah.
everybody goes to mom or dad or
I,
friend that they deem to be smarter, correct? And
Yeah.
if
fair.
that
Yeah.
is the
Fair.
case in the situation with your medical as an adult, because if you're an adult, then that's why you're having this conversation with yourself and you're trying to decide whether you're going to do something or not. So as an adult, what you do is you go to the most informed person that you can. Just like
Mhm.
when you're in science class, you're not going to ask, the one who shows up to class twice a week. You're going to go to the teacher, right? So in this situation with the issues around the vaccine, the first person you should contact, your doctor. And if your doctor
Mhm.
says, no, I think with your health requirements, it's not a good idea, then you wait.
Yeah.
And if your doctor says, you know what, I think it's the best thing for you, we should move forward with this, they're educated professionals. They're getting the most up-to-date information on a regular basis. They're within the loop. I'm gonna assume that they're gonna give you the correct information.
Oh yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you would go to the next authority person if you don't trust the government. Going to a doctor, they're educated professionals. Start there. And if you are genuinely concerned and you feel like your doctor didn't give you what you needed, then you keep waiting, and that's fine if you don't feel like you've got the requirements of the information that you need and you want to wait it out a little bit more, fine. But
Mhm.
with what's going on, there are so many phone numbers and online resources that are
Yeah.
verified as well as doctors that you can
Mhm.
contact, and what people don't understand as well, when I spoke to my doctor, as I said, if I'm going to do this, I would prefer to go to a clinic that you would recommend. And
Mhm.
he told me he's literally working on the front lines at the clinics giving out the vaccines. So it's not like it's just a random nurse there. It's literal doctors that are giving out these vaccines in these clinics that you're going to,
Mhm.
assuming you're not going to a pharmacy. So it's like you have to trust to some degree that these people are doing what they're supposed to. It's their entire livelihood, their practice. They could lose their
Yeah.
entire career like following along with these things,
Mhm.
I don't know. I just feel like it seems so logical for me, and I understand how it might not seem logical for other people, but
Like you want to like you want to go to the most informed source about things,
right.
specifically when it's on a global level. So like
Yeah.
when you're talking, when you're now getting sources from like some dude down as from your neighbor who
Yeah.
just like learned something this morning of what RNA is, you
Yeah.
like you're gonna start to listen to that more. So like we we're taking information from every sort of source we can, but it's up to us and how we process it. And
Yeah.
some people will be like, okay, fucking the thing is bad, let's fucking get rid of it, or
Yeah.
let's make a big deal about it. And then the other side is gonna be like, okay, we're all gonna do it. So yeah, I just think it's something that like, yeah, you need to like really think about this one, like really
Yeah.
talk to people, get all of your sources and stuff like that. Even if you aren't
Hmm.
savvy, everybody wants to be a smart dude now, smart
Yeah.
person now and stuff. So everybody has these tools, everybody has these resources. Fucking do it, but I don't think we'd much rather
Yeah.
be sheep and stuff.
I personally think the opposite, right? Like people who are following around, the guidelines, who are speaking to the professionals and doing their research and choosing to, make an informed decision. I don't
Mhm.
see how we're sheeple. I think all these people who are just choosing to defy the government because it's the government and
Mhm.
go with whatever conspiracy theory they see online, like no offense, but like you're the sheeple because you're the one
Yeah.
following an organized group of people who are uneducated and you're sheeping along with them. So it's
Mhm,
no
mhm,
different than how you view us. Like thanks,
mhm.
but like okay, like bah.
So my
Yeah,
comparable
you're
example when I'm looking at, I'm cutting in because I got a fun conundrum
Okay.
of like, I'll keep it a little vague. But still, this is a personal one. Of like, you looking at richer liberal people. We're saying that at the same time, right? Because we're looking at a certain group of people who are going to sit there and be like, oh, you're being sheeple. But at the same time, you know, there's people on the other side of the fence that will gladly go to like a mental health session hosted by some guy who's just written 3 books but never went to university on any sort of psychology, right? So it's like that the flip. There is 2 sides to the coin in the fact that like the people who are also willing to trust it are also themselves believing in some baloney on the side.
I mean, it kind of feels like, to me, the thing is, conspiracy theories exist for a reason, because some of them have been proven to be true. We know this. It's not like it's a joke. We know that some of the stuff, I mean, just with what happened with Trump, we know that conspiracy theories are not always a joke, right? But it's like, I don't know how to explain it, but it's just like, I just,
okay. Well, it's a good segue.
Because I can understand why people have these ideas, but it's just not grounded in reality. That's it. It's just not.
It is a good pivot point then. So we'll use that then, is to tie it into the second topic of what about family members then, right? Because applying these beliefs to your friends, it's all fine and dandy. We can at least have these larger discussions. But when it comes to family, it's like you're making a choice for life when you're trying to draw these lines, right? Like you're not sure the type of person this human may end up as on the other side of this. At least as friends, you can find a middle ground. You can talk, but you're looking at your family and drawing a line. So, nah, I don't need the personal stories, but have there been any conflictions, whether you know through your life or someone adjacent to you? Have you witnessed anything where it's like, all right, I had to cut out out of this life because I couldn't go to the family gathering?
Full disclosure, when I wrote this script, I didn't put myself into this, so I can't really relate to either one because everybody on my side is just like on the same boat. So when I said it, was like, okay, I think Bailey and my mom can more or less inject their own personal.
Yes, the white people.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, isn't
Yes.
I'm joking.
That's okay.
I'm
Leave it up to
Well,
us.
it's true.
Leave it up to the Caucasians to formulate the
It is
discussion,
you guys.
Raza.
No, you know what? Because this is something that is a trend among all families, whether it's this topic or another topic. I have experienced this within my own families, not just with, you know, the pandemic, but with other political happenings. And my response is always just to say, if you choose to be uneducated and make that decision, then that's fine. I respect that. But I'm no longer going to have this conversation with you. And that's pretty much like where I leave it. And because the reality is, and like one family member in particular, we have this argument quite often, specifically about politics. And my response is always, we are never going to get along if we continue talking about this topic, because the reality is you choose to be uneducated and underinformed, and that is your own decision, and I'm choosing different. So the conversation just has to no longer happen.
Yeah.
Or I wait until the mistakes that I told them were going to happens, and I just send them a bunch of sources like they like to send around, and I just say, this is your proof right here. Like specifically with Trump and everything that went on, I was like, all these things that I was trying to explain to you, that you were all like, oh, it's a conspiracy. It's no longer a conspiracy. And this is why people who believe conspiracies believe them, because they end up becoming true sometimes. Maybe not the conspiracies you had in mind, but opposing ones come. And then they end up becoming a reality, like specifically with all the stuff with the polls. With Trump, like everybody was like, oh, okay, like that has to be messed up. It doesn't make sense. There's so many people that are not, and like what's going on? And then it proved to be the conspiracy was somewhat true, and we had to go through this whole big process. You know, the states had to go through this whole big process to kind of get through all of the mud. So it's like, just because they have conspiracy theories that they think to be true doesn't mean that they can't be proven wrong with an additional conspiracy theory that, you know, maybe somebody more liberal had, right?
Yeah, that's where I feel it's crazy because all those people, there's a certain man's who had an island who used to fly a lot of celebrities there.
Right.
All these
Ryan
nut
Casper.
jobs. Yeah, all these nut jobs were screaming about that for years, and then they were just recently proven right. So it's like those little fucks all had the biggest ego boost before all of this shit happened, that it was like, no, all these doubts are real.
Well, you know what? With that situation, I think the best part of that was when the photos of Trump came out and everybody was like, "Oh, he's so perfect and he would never." And
Yeah.
everyone had their inappropriate opinions about Joe, but it was just more solidified with Trump. And yeah, I won't get into it, but nice try, pals.
Well,
That's
yeah,
a
it's just-
Patreon episode for the future.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
a Patreon.
but like, it's so jokes when conspiracy theories, conspiracy theories people aren't usually like all like they seem to be hella aggressive and a little more dangerous. So when they are proven right,
Yeah.
they get way more like turned up. They're like,
One
let's
right and they're completely
go.
right forever.
And they're dull because they don't take W's of often, right? So any sort of like win, even with this thing, like yeah, like any sort of win that gave like their movement any sort of like small legitimacy, they'll eat that up and
Yeah.
like go onto it for like decades and
For
stuff like that.
life. For
Yeah,
life, bro. For life.
life, yeah. So like I hate the fact when small things are proven right and like, oh, we were totally
Yeah.
gonna be like, no, but like this
Yeah.
and that happened. You
Yeah.
gotta look at everything else.
Well, exactly.
Yeah, so that's like, to bring it back to family, is like, that's the weird middle ground I have of like, it exposed the difference between the rational but conservative people and the conservative but full nut job people.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, it really exposed that in my family, because a lot of people were willing to have a constructive conversation and still go get the shot, but be pissed that this is all happening, but still do it gladly, right? Like, and then others are like, you know, drawing lines. It's like, okay, now I'm seeing the divides of what's going on here.
Yeah. It's just
like
confusing how people
is.
get to like
that point.
their points. Yeah. It just like I just feel like if a conspiracy theory requires you to talk in a million circles, then like it's not what you think it is. You know? Like with the guy with the plane and the island, you didn't really have to talk a circle around that. If you know anything about true crime, all the signs were there. It was quite clear that's what was going on. I wasn't surprised when it came out. I knew exactly, like, obviously these things have happened, right? But when you start talking in circles about all these weird things that are going on, it doesn't make sense.
And that's what cheeses me about this, whether it's friends or not. And again, not the journalism high horse, but all these people, oh, I've read so much, but like, you
Look at
talk
your
to them,
sources, yeah.
they haven't read the national health report, they haven't read their province's health report, they haven't read other provinces' health reports, and you can read that directly about each company's like product. Like, it's very accessible, it's a pain in the ass to read. It's not fucking fun. But all these people, all of a sudden, they okay, yeah, all these articles, I'm doing research. It's like, no, you ain't.
My question to them is, if you feel like the vaccine was too rushed with its research, why are you willing to believe people who have full papers that came out a month after the pandemic? Why is that research more valuable than the years of research post-pandemic that they did on the SARS pandemic, which we all lived through? Like, hello, we all lived through that. Literally, I thought that I wasn't allowed to go to hospitals because my mom was so scared to take us to a hospital. Like, even when my friend had a baby, I was like, oh, I'm not allowed to go to the hospital. Because that's how scary and how in-depth that small pandemic was, which was a very small pandemic.
You're traveling, that happened.
I know, exactly. It was very casual, but, you know, like, I just, my point is, how are you going to take the research from somebody online who's researched a month into the pandemic versus somebody who has been working on a vaccine, I guess you would assume, doing research on foreign diseases for this amount of time. You're gonna take
Yeah.
the smaller person's credit. Like, make that make sense to me, please. I would like to understand the logic.
And not all of us are fortunate, but like I have is it a virologist, a person who knows and studies viruses and shit. So I have a cousin, and she lives in Chicago. Anything I had, okay, so can you explain to me on this uh vaccine? Can you explain to me what this vaccine is? And then she actually gives me good resources. And I'm fortunate to be able to do that, and that's why I'm able to see that line that Bailey was talking about clearly, because like when you see the people who know what they're talking about, they don't pull one source. They pull like so many sources, and then they show you specifically your answer, right? But then on the other side, they're like, here's a blog that I wrote. Um, I sort I got this quack doctor who believes in in what's in what's the medicine? It's like natural medicine.
The alkaline diet.
The homeopathic doctors?
Homeopathic doctors.
Homeopathic.
They're not complete crackpots, but I know your point. Like, it's not what they they're not educated enough to give you information on a COVID vaccine. I'm sorry. Like, no.
Yeah. Like, homeopathy is a great thing. Try it. One is like down the road. Fucking my mom goes there, gets some good vitamins there, but
clearly with all the vitamins on your tray there. The vitamin man.
Don't go to them for stuff like this, because they're not equipped to deal with stuff like this. Go to sorry.
I was just gonna say, well, you're right, because it's the same thing. Yeah, you go to these people, go to that people of like if we're trusting specialists in any given field, if the idea is getting the direct knowledge, whether or not you're an expert in researching things, you're literally just believing some dude on the internet versus like someone who's spent their whole life doing it. And that's what's the most critical deciding factor nowadays, primarily.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's important to distinguish the difference between homeopathic medicine versus scientific medicine, because people who do homeopathic medicine, like, they're working with different body chemicals, and they're working with like something so simple as like, you are sad because you don't have enough vitamin D. Like, that's their reality. They're working with more, I guess, like human chemicals, like makeups. Whereas when you're talking about and when you're talking about a doctor, like, that's constant education. Like, they are constantly renewing their education. They have to. It's the same reason why you don't go and get your hair cut in a basement. You go to a salon, because a salon is filled with people who are constantly furthering their education. They go through tons of courses yearly with mandates of like education that they have to update. Even just with the pandemic, they had to go through a whole entire sanitization class in order to receive certificates to be like safe enough to prove that salons should be open. Like, that's why you go to certain specifics for certain things. Like, it's not complicated.
Well, if I may clarify, my super quick one is just is like, that's something you're right, and to provide a disclaimer of like, that's something that like, even as a hippie, I'm sitting here of like, there's a difference between being a chemist and someone who runs an apothecary, right?
Right.
The apothecary person, with their knowledge of essential oils and how they combine and how they affect the human body, like, that too is valid knowledge. But those are their knowledge is completely separate from the skill set of a chemist.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Very different.
That's really, and like, like, I see people like, oh, I go to my natural doctor, like, okay, that's great and all, but does he know what is in the viruses, or is he just giving you stuff that's like from his
immune boosters? That's what they're giving you.
Yeah. So like, no dig at any of those doctors. They're just, again, not equipped to deal with these things, like, more, because all their stuff takes longer to do because it's all natural, right? And we need a fix excuse me now. So like, you can go to that, but like it's actually safer to go to a doctor and stuff.
Yeah. I
Yep.
mean, there's reasons why you go to a homeopathic doctor. It makes sense. Like
Yeah,
as
yes.
somebody who has like women problems, you get more help going to a homeopathic doctor than you would going to a traditional doctor, especially if you're like dealing with more like pain management and stuff like that. Yes, you can go to a doctor and get some like over-the-counter muscle relaxers or something, but when you go to a homeopathic doctor, it's a different sort of set of tools that you're given that are just it's a little bit easier, right? So there's a time and a place for each reason, I think, to go to different doctors, but you
Mhm.
have to be realistic, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of like having to take antibiotics and like getting a flu shot and all that stuff. Like it's never been for me. I took antibiotics once because I had gotten bit by a bug and I didn't have a choice. The doctor was like, "There's nothing else you can do." I would prefer
Mhm.
not to because I trust
Mhm.
my body to do what it needs to do, but something like this, which is an uncontrolled virus that I don't have any answers to, it's not like it, hundreds of people have been bit by a bug, not hundreds of people before the pandemic had COVID. You know what I mean? It's
Mhm.
different.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, it's just like, yeah, it is super different, and like we still don't even understand it at all. So then
Right.
why are we going to doctors that claim that their science has healed leprosy or stuff
Right.
Yeah.
like that?
Right.
Why
Right.
or what does leprosy have to do with fucking this thing, right?
Exactly.
So it's just like it's great, do it, but you're not solving the problem. You're just, you know, ignoring it
Just putting
actively.
a very loose band-aid on it. That's what you're
Yeah.
doing.
Well, not really even a band-aid, a duct tape or
Yeah.
the fucking uh of a wound and stuff. So yeah, just homeopathy is great, but like, you know, don't consider it the answer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
that's for
yeah, yeah.
sure.
I'm on the same board. Like I love the idea of naturopaths. Like
Hmm.
I'm definitely 100% for it. But yeah, it's recognizing the differences between Eastern and Western medicine. And this is from me being a
Yeah.
hippie. I got my fucking high horse. Trust me, as a fucking teenager. Like, fuck that, fuck this, fuck that. But you need to know the balance of like they're two different. If you're viewing the human body, you're learning the flow of humanity through life. If you're seeing that as an art form, then at the same
Mhm.
time, the dude studying chemistry, it's an art form as well. He's being an alchemist.
Yeah.
It sounds fucking. I'm
Yeah.
comparing it to
Studying
anime
history.
and floofy stuff, but that's what they're doing, right?
But
Like,
that's the
Mhm.
core reality of it, right? You're trying to give a very dumbed down sort of
Yeah.
comparison that's understandable, which you're correct.
yeah, you're looking at the doctor and you're trying to say, oh, the doctor's working with modern sciences is unnatural, but it's like, what's the difference between the doctor and like a witch doctor? They're just choosing
Hmm.
to combine very
Hmm.
specific chemicals instead of a couple leaves to make a concoction to
Hmm.
make you better,
Yeah.
right?
And it like and their thing may be quicker because like again they're like fucking it's quote unquote it's there's more science behind this. Not to
Yeah.
say
Yeah.
there's no science behind homeopath. I don't want to like sound like
You
I
were on
hate
the no, you were on the right track with unnatural because that's the truth, right? When you go
yeah
to Western medicine, it's more aggressive stuff because it's
yeah
meant
yeah
to specifically target and get right to the root of the problem.
as soon as possible. Yeah.
Where with homeopathic medicine, it's about unity. It's about let's work
Hmm.
on all the things in concession. Let's get it all together. Let's harmonize it
Mhm.
all. Let's balance it all. Let's get it all equal, which is a little bit more I think spiritual versus medical.
Yeah.
Which is fine
Mhm.
if that's your bag. You got a sore throat and you want to go through it like a little medical, like a homeopathic medicine routine. Okay, fine. I do that too. I make sure I have my honey regularly because it's antibacterial and all that stuff. I get
Yeah,
it,
honey is
dude.
so good with that shit.
Right. I get it. Right. I'm all
Yeah.
for it. But,
Mhm.
when you go to a doctor, they're going to tell you, oh, go get Halls for your sore throat, which has honey in
Yeah.
it. So it's like
Mhm.
they're not far off, but one just has honey and medical ingredients, whereas one is
Mhm.
just honey. Like
Yeah.
It's
it's
just
just a
yeah, it's
step
just
up.
and like the best like I'm all about natural or
Yeah.
mayonnaise because devil's lettuce. It's fucking,
Uh,
it's it's like all like ironically enough, but
Mhm.
the natural stuff has helped my anxiety things, has helped my health. It's done more good than the over the counter stuff. And like the fact that like okay, the fact that antibiotics that you mentioned before, um, I did not know that antibiotics also kill white blood cells. And when I
Yeah.
found that out, I was just like, why are they over prescribing this to me? And my mom flat out said, Raza, thank you for joining us in the year 2021. Um, the reason why they're doing this is because the pharmaceutical company is in cahoots
It
with
yeah,
makes you reliant on it.
yeah.
That's,
yeah.
not to like trail off into that stuff, but I have a very specific issue with antibiotics. Someone within my
Mm,
family was prescribed them so much that their body had
yeah.
become so used to them that they would take them and it did absolutely nothing. And so the
Oh
doctor had to
shit.
upgrade them to a more aggressive
Yeah.
antibiotic, which I
Bruh.
feel like that's too much, okay? Like,
Hmm.
there's no reason for that.
No, I agree.
And like,
We went through so much shit when my grandfather was in the hospital because the
Yeah.
doctors kept just giving him methadone when we kept
Yep.
saying he's allergic to synthetic drugs, and they're just like, "Oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
synthetic heroin, here, take it."
Yeah.
Take it. It's like no, no. But
Yeah.
or
side
free
story,
healthcare
not as
more
sad,
complete.
is like
Yeah.
I do have sort of similar of like I'm very me and my father and my grandmother, but because they were from different times of like we're all very allergic to synthetic shit. If I eat shit, if I
Mhm.
take antibiotics, I get sick as fuck.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
no doctors before would recognize that as necessarily a possibility. So my family's
Yeah.
always landed in this weird middle ground, trying to identify the healthy balance between believing the Western medicine and the Eastern, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's good. And that's literally what we do here, as
Yeah.
in looking over at an Advil at nighttime. But
Yeah.
uh, but yeah, like I completely agree with that. Like it's good to have a balance of Eastern and Western medicine because like
Yeah.
if it's one-sided, you're gonna have so many problems, especially with Western one because of all the side effects, and then with the Eastern
Hmm.
shit, it'll take like a long time just to
Yeah.
fix the issue and stuff. So it's like just balance it out.
I think it's
Yeah.
just important to definitely look at both avenues
Hmm.
and be realistic. Like at the end of the day, when it comes to, my personal grievance with antibiotics, that's my personal experience. I've watched it happen. I've seen it happen with a family member. That's why I
Hmm.
feel the way I feel. Plus, when I take antibiotics, they make me feel even worse than whatever is my problem at the time.
Yeah.
So that's my own experience that I'm taking into account. But
Hmm.
with something that's a greater scale like this, which is just like you're watching it rip through entire countries, not just like cities or towns, rip through entire countries. At this point, you have to be like, okay, maybe I should start asking some of the right questions, different
Yeah.
questions, start looking at resources, and form an educated decision.
So
Yeah, and then like, oh shit.
no,
Go
go
ahead.
Raza, and then I will conclude after.
I think I had a good okay.
No, go
So
ahead.
like,
Go
at
ahead.
what point do we say to like, at what point if you're okay, so you're an anti-vaxxer, be an
Hmm.
anti-vaxxer with me for a second.
Okay.
Uh, you are that a person, and then you see on the news 4,000 new cases, 6,000 deaths, or something of like that. At what point? At what? Yeah, at what point does something click in your head and go like, okay, man, maybe I am wrong.
See,
Maybe like,
it's
yeah,
it's hard and it's sad, but I don't think people are going to realize until it's themselves or their
yeah,
family. That's just the
that,
reality. Like that is
I
what
do
yeah,
that
agree.
is, which
yeah.
I do
sucks,
agree.
but
It does
yeah.
make sense though. It does make
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
Anyway,
It's
so
sad.
Ben, yeah.
Well,
Oh, sorry. Yeah,
my
yeah.
my conclusion ties in is
Hmm.
the exact same. I wasn't gonna
That's
go
good.
much farther than that. Than if that exact situation is like personal, you know.
Yeah.
Mhm.
How do you? Let's say you got an uncle, you got an aunt. That's a good. That's a good
Mhm.
medium. That's a second range of adjustment.
Yeah.
As we're being advice givers and cool podcasters. How the fuck do you deal with that with your own uncle? So your uncle comes to you. He ain't full anti-vax. He ain't sitting there saying like this is fucked, but it's a conspiracy. But he's like he's pulling the I'ma relax on this shit. You know, you do you. Like, do you be like, here's some sources? Do you pull up from some fucking reports, or do you just start going in on him about how he's an idiot?
Okay, so okay, so your uncle's foot. I'll like go off on him. He's an idiot. Before you, okay, so you're saying this uncle already is kind of he's like halfway, like
Yeah, okay, just so that we have to deal the middle
Yeah.
ground, because if they're an anti-vaxxer, the argument is mute. So it's just like someone
Okay.
who's hesitant to get the vaccine who's an uncle. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, so like their foot is halfway in the door at that point because they're willing to listen to you,
Mhm.
and like the good starting off point would be like, yeah, here's some source material. It doesn't have to be the most aggressive thing. It can be like a mainstream one, and then you can start like s- start like weaning them into like, okay, here's what happens if it goes unchecked, and here's what happens. What happens?
Yeah.
Well, check. Like
Mm-hmm.
he already is willing to listen to you, so that battle is half won, right? So now is the convincing part, and that thing. I think at that point it gets easier because if he's willing to listen to you, you may be able to persuade him a little bit, and then his brain will click. Be like, oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
Bailey's right. Maybe I should think about this more, look around and see
Yeah.
what's good. That's
I
my
That's
think
fair.
I think if I was in that position, I would probably, especially thinking about how my own uncle reacts, um, I would just ask him to do me the favor of speaking to a medical professional and getting an educated opinion.
yeah,
Because I
yeah.
feel like if I'm speaking, like if I was to imagine it was my own actual uncle,
Hmm.
I believe that he would give me that, and
Hmm.
then at least from there he would have an informed decision.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Whether he chose to get it or not, at that point, I would feel like I've done everything I can by encouraging them to speak to a medical professional, even if it's someone just
Mhm.
like called my own doctor and spoke to them like together and encouraged him to ask the questions. But I would just be like, just at least promise me to speak to an educated medical professional and then make your informed decision. And then
Oh
from
yeah.
there, I would have to respect it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. You
I
would
think that's
respect
fair.
it, yeah, like unless they're hard-headed.
Yeah.
Hard-headed, like I'm not. But yeah, I agree. You will honest. You should respect it if they're willing to compromise.
Yeah.
Because if they're stubborn about it, then I don't think that's even for
Yeah.
family, because I've done that to some.
I mean, I feel like somebody who is still on the fence and they're looking for a reason to prove you wrong, speaking
Mhm.
to a medical professional would only give them more power to prove why you are wrong, should the
Yeah,
medical professional give them the information that they think that they're looking for. You know what I mean?
yeah,
If that
yeah.
makes
And so,
sense. Like if somebody
mhm.
says, if I say, "Oh, 2 plus 2 is 3," and they're like, "No, 2 plus 2 is 4," and I'm like, "Okay, ask a mathematician," and the mathematician says, "Actually, yeah, it is 2 plus 2 is 4," and they come back to me
Right.
with that, I have to respect that they spoke to a
Yeah.
mathematician. It's an educated opinion that they're coming to me with. I'm the one that's wrong, and not
Mhm.
necessarily that you have to prove that you are wrong. You could just say, "Okay, I respect that that's how you feel, absolutely," and take the L, and just let it be until they feel like they've reached the knowledge or a place where they can feel more informed about their decision. As
Mhm.
I feel like
Mhm.
with this, it really is just about the education, and because it's hard. Like I don't want to sit here and be like all these anti-vax people are just the worst ever. But it's like there are some people that do have like legitimate genuine fears, because I
Yeah.
was somebody who I wasn't like I'm not an anti-vaxxer, but I do even still now have concerns about things.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I said to you guys, I spoke to my doctor and he alleviated some of that stress. That's all you can do. That's it.
Yeah.
That's as far as you can go.
Because it's all up to you at that at that
Yeah.
point. It's all up to you to make an educated opinion. And
Yeah.
if you want to be taken seriously, then yeah, just talk to people who know about. Don't go on to an anti-masker rally and speak to a
Oh
fucking
God, no.
an expert from there. You get
Don't be a
nothing.
sheeple at a
Don't be
fucking anti-mask rally.
we
sheeple. Yeah.
had my family has the extreme of, even with like the white folks in our family, it's still very much of the you don't like it then leave, right? Like we'll have
Yeah.
some of our uncles and shit that are like country bumpkins going off. It's like, well, like you're kind of upset with the vaccine policies, then like you could always go back to the Ukraine.
Yeah.
Right.
You
Yeah,
know?
it like isn't even your like yeah, like
Ironic.
yeah, like yeah, it is ironic.
Yeah.
Hit them with a colonizer card and
Yeah,
see
go
what
back.
happens.
That's
Yeah.
where
Yeah,
they hit him with the opposite of the colonizer card. Yeah. It's like,
Yeah.
how do you feel? How you feel? You wanna try living in Eastern European poverty? I think not. So
Yeah,
get the fucking needle,
you
fam.
yeah, you benefit from this society way too much.
Yeah. But I think the key to success with this situation, dealing with whether it's family or friend, is to approach it gently and encourage them to seek outside education from a medical professional and just say, at least do me this favor, and then whatever you conclude, I have to respect from there.
I would
Or in
concur.
Bailey's
That's the
case,
best. Yeah.
just call
Yeah.
the guy an idiot.
Oh my gosh. No, because you don't want to. The thing is, like, because you genuinely you don't want to lose friends over something like this
But
because you
the
want to
question
be
is,
sensitive.
yeah, but the other side is, do they care? On the other side, right? Do your
I
friends care?
mean, that's
Are
where
you?
you have to make the judgment call. If you feel like you're telling your friend something and they're constantly being combative and they're insulting you, then at that point maybe you have to be like, okay, I have to step away.
Mhm.
But I feel like for me, any of my friends that have felt differently, I've just been like, at least do me the favor of contacting your doctor. From there, whatever you decide to do, it's really none of my business. But I'm going to continue to do what I feel is right. And that's it.
Yeah. That's
It's all you
fair.
can do.
Let's leave it
Yeah.
on Wine Mom's wise words.
Yeah.
May I ask you to pull up your Am I the Asshole for the week?
Sorry. Let
Are you-
me.
oh, all right.
Oh, Raza,
No,
want-
you did it, right? You want to do
Yeah.
it, Raza?
It doesn't. I had one, so you don't have to look.
Yeah,
for
I
it.
don't
Yeah.
I don't have it up.
just meant to-
If you
Can
wanna
somebody
read that
forward
one.
me the link, please?
I will drop it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bam.
It's a
Bam.
long one
Bam.
thing.
Speedy boy. Speedy boy. It's going in the dictators. It's right there.
Thank you. Sorry, Wine Mom had a long day doing her
That's
best
okay.
here.
What should I do, Mom? Mom's
okay.
tired. Mommy needs a break. Sorry, continue.
Yeah, honestly. Okay, so I feel like I won't read the title because it gives it away. Okay, so this person says this is their first time posting, so bear with them, okay?
No.
So about 2 years ago, a friend of mine, let's say X, cut contact with me. The reason behind it was completely logical. I invited both X and his ex of 2 months to a party since they were both friends of mine. I figured 2 months was enough to make amends with your ex. I had never been in a relationship before this, and I'm not super good with these types of things. Afterwards, X refused to talk to me for a year, so during which I gave our former friendship some thought. I decided it was for the best of both of us as there was a lot of things that they did not like about X, okay? And it felt like meeting the president when seeing X. We never met up one-to-one. It was always during parties or group meetups. So today, a friend of mine...
Okay. Did I write this?
I mean, it sounds like
relatable to me.
maybe. Yeah.
What the fuck?
So today a friend of mine, let's say V, called me to go get a drink someplace. I agreed. V then wanted to also invite X, which I declined. All of our friends knew how me and X broke contact, but apparently X had been wanting to see me for a while now. V asked why I didn't want to see X, and I replied, I'm pretty content, I don't miss X at all. To which V reacted with anger, disgust. I'm not sure why. V tried to convince me some more, often by having long pauses in the phone call, and eventually we hung up. Am I the asshole for refusing to see X? I don't know, because I have really poor emotional intelligence and don't know if what I'm doing is justified. And both me, my mom, and my sister agree I should see him instead of being stubborn. Why do I want to see X? To me, he's arrogant. Well, sorry. I want to see X. To me, he's arrogant, acts like some pretentious elite who is better than everyone else, thinks with his wiener first and is rude overall, never asking how someone is doing, commenting on people's appearance or smell. I hope this suffices. Let me know if I've missed anything.
Okay, that's a personal attack on me.
So who's the asshole? My
I
friends.
think V is, in my opinion, and the ex-friend of his, because the narrator, the guy who wrote this, made it pretty clear that he doesn't want to be friends, or doesn't want to be friends with
Right.
that other dude. So
Right.
I think the OP is not the asshole, because he said, "Hey, I set my boundaries. Respect them." And everybody's like, "Nah. Why do you feel? Why are you a dick?" He's like, "I have boundaries." But yeah, I think OP is not the asshole.
Yes.
I
Bailey?
concur wholesomely. I see how there could be conflictions based on like not having social awareness or like maybe making the wrong decision. But it even sounds like homie writing the post would gladly say that. I mean, he did. They did say it publicly, so I feel like they would gladly admit the shit that they fucked up in the first place. But I think it's also fair to them to be like, nah, it's a little too immature for me, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that I agree that X is the asshole in this situation, not the OP.
Yes.
And I believe this because I have personally been in the same situation where I had a friend and it was just quite clear that the friendship was not a good friendship. There was a lot of toxic things happening. For me, it eventually blew up in a big situation, but inevitably I decided that the contact with that person was no longer going to be something that I was signed up for. And I did have friends try and persuade me by saying they've changed, give them another chance, on top of the fact that they had been literally harassing me online by messaging me nonstop, trying to regenerate some sort of conversation.
Yeah.
I feel like as a person, you should be allowed to dictate when you no longer want to be friends with someone. You can't really dictate when someone should be friends with you, but you should at least be able to say, I've reached my limit with you. Thank you for the time we've had. Good luck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is kick jogging a relatable story to me, and Bailey knows who I'm going to talk about. Him,
Ooh, spicy.
Bailey and I have a mutual class. Yeah, we can say classmate now.
Yeah.
And like he would always be randomly messaging me about his like problems and stuff, and then I would give him advice and everything. I would tell him to come over, hang out with me if you want to be alone. This motherfucker wouldn't listen to my advice. He would just go to a bar, hammered, and text me drunkenly and start throwing up on the phone. And I'd be like, "All right, buddy, I'm fucking."
Like limit reached.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like, and then he, we stopped talking for about I think a year and a half a year, I think. He added me on Instagram a couple months ago, and I think he took me off in Instagram because he would start messaging me weird things, like weird messages. I hope he doesn't see this, but weird pop.
Sorry,
Yo, can
friend.
I've got one quote for you. I have one memorized because it was so fucked. I'm still trying to figure it out. So
Okay,
one of his photo
hit me.
captions, Wine Mom. You ready for this?
One of this friend that harassed Raza, his photo captions.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you for spelling that
Ready?
out, by the way.
Listen to this. It's
Yes.
slap a turtle and call it Bizquick.
Okay.
I'll
I
do
feel
that.
like I'm gonna slap him. That's a little bit rude.
What does that
Like
mean?
what?
Is that a
And
joke?
it means nothing.
Is that an analogy? Is that a pun?
I feel like somebody spends too much time on Twitter. That's what that feels like.
So I posted a picture of Ratchet, like a Ratchet and Clank game, how I'm reviewing it, and he responded to it saying,
I hear it's a
"My
good game.
It is a quick game. My fart wheat will skewer your totalitarian skirmish on multiple fronts,
Okay, I've had
comma,
enough.
made. I was just like, it does kind of make sense. But
Oh
what
my
the
god.
fuck, man?
That makes no fucking sense. I have no idea what's going on.
But he when I first met him,
Hmm.
Bailey and him had a falling out, which is the funniest falling out like I've ever seen happen.
You'll have to tell me about it after.
I'll
Yeah,
tell you just
and
because
stuff.
it's not on air friendly, but I'll tell you after.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I
Yeah,
would
yeah,
gladly talk about it.
Yeah,
yeah,
no, the sorry, go ahead, Raza.
and and uh and then and then like they split off and everything, and then Bailey and I just him and I'm gonna pause this because this is a cool part of the game. Bailey and I stopped talking as well. I don't know why we just drifted apart,
Life.
and then yeah,
Yeah.
and also because I think I shit you not, there was a moment I think Bailey and I didn't like each each other.
Wow.
There was a moment. There was actually no. There was like people were actually saying that, and like, I was like, okay, weird, but it is what it is. But to Bailey's defense, he wasn't in college to make friends. He was there to fucking graduate and get a goddamn
So to
degree.
graduate and make
Yeah.
money. Make money.
Exactly. So like, yeah, exactly. Like, and I can't dig him on chasing
Yeah.
the,
I
the
think
bag.
I think for me the situation that I was in, it reached a point for me where because I had been ignoring them, I would say easy almost 10 years. I had been ignoring them. Like I'm not joking. I wish that
Jesus.
like if I can find the messages I'll show you guys, but like
Mhm.
easy
Yeah.
10 years I had been ignoring this person like
Jesus.
continuously sending me messages like almost like once a month, sometimes more. And the final line for me, because we have a friend that's not really a mutual friend, but kind of like they still have some minimal contact,
Mhm.
Yeah.
is when they sent me photos of them with my mom's dog. That's when I was like, okay, now you've reached a limit with me where it's like
Yeah.
either like I'm gonna lose my cool or like somebody's gonna get hurt. So this
Mhm.
needs to be done now. But just to make it a little less weird, the reason why they had pictures with my mom's dog is because they happened to work at a place that my mom took the dog to. So it's weird, but
Okay.
it's not that weird. But it's
Okay.
weird enough that she like recognized my mom and my last name and then thought it was okay. Sorry, I should stop saying their gender because it gives it away. But like recognized who it was and then proceeded to message me about it on Facebook, and I was like, this is the limit where like I've made it very clear that this is harassment, and if it
Mhm.
continues then I will be moving forward with something more
Ooh.
serious. And yeah,
Oh. Oh
but
my
that
god.
was like the photos of the dog. I was like, this is where like I'm official, like I never want to hear from you again because
Mm.
I physically no,
Yeah.
it's done. Like yeah.
Crazy people out there. Holy
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
Like mine, yeah, mine isn't. Yeah, I thought mine was bad, but holy shit.
Yeah.
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 Like
Humans suck.
when Bailey and I
Mhm.
stopped talking, him like this other friend and I got kind of close, and then I didn't hang out with him as much, but then I started to see more and more of like who he is, and like he like
Yeah.
he's like, yeah, I got this year. I was just like, this energy is so weird. I can't deal with it. I don't know how to do.
Yeah.
Haven't spoken to you in a year and a half or something like that. I was like, how do I deal with this?
Ignore, that's how you deal with it.
And
You
that's what I
slap a
did. And then
turtle, dog. You slap a
I
turtle.
saw the turtle,
Call
and
it
then
Bisquick. It's all good.
like yeah, like I want to see our text thread. 1 second,
Oh
if I still have it.
gosh.
Okay, the last thing he sent me was uh oh wait, okay, the the curry us case of Benjamin Glutton, and
The
that was
curry us?
Yeah.
yeah. So like
Curry
Yeah.
is in
curry,
the food instead of
yeah,
saying curious? Okay,
Yeah.
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
like that.
Yeah,
Don't do that's not cute.
that's that's.
It's not funny
I
at
mean,
all.
yeah. I said, what am I supposed to do with that?
Are they just illiterate?
No,
Or is it a
illiterate.
choice?
It's a choice.
Okay. Oh,
And
okay.
it's 100%.
I hate
He
that.
knows what he is doing, and like
Yeah.
I'll tell you more about it off stream. But
Yeah, we're gonna have
Okay.
a little chit chat when
Yeah,
stream's
that sounds
over
good
about
actually.
something.
Let's fucking conclude the pod for the day then. How do you feel about that?
Yeah.
And we
Okay.
are talking about Kevin.
Yeah. Definitely not a Kevin, okay? If anyone knows us, it's not Kevin. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. Today was a good pod.
Okay.
Do not yell at your friends the same way I just yelled at you, because if they want to
Yes.
learn more information, you do what Wine Mom says, and you offer up a gentle hand, but with a firm boundary that you place, because I am human or woman or man, and hear me roar. Yeah. Okay.
Italians.
So,
God damn it.
my name's Bailey. If you want to catch me on the internet, you can catch me on the Instagrams at gnarly_media. I'm not going to spell it. You can look in the description. We've got Raza
G.
here. Raza's going to say where you can find him because he doesn't like social media.
Instagram _r.r_malik_, and that's my IG.
Yeah, if you can spell Malik. And so we got Wine Mom with us. Wine Mom is our savior, and Wine Mom will give you the beautiful social media handle or a random call out that they have today.
It's a Wine X Mom on Instagram. That's where you can find me. Don't use it much, but I will reply to your messages.
That's what matters.
Yes.
Thank you, everybody, for coming out. Today was Tough Talks. If you tune in, stay longer. We're about to have an upgraded format.
Tough Talks.
Yeah.
We sit down talking about our problems, mostly Bailey's problems. But yeah, sorry.
I do like that. That's not a bad idea. But all right, either way, thank you for tuning in, fam. We appreciate you. You're about to get this straight to your phone. If you're here before it's at your phone, you're a godsend. We appreciate you. We love you. We'll see you soon. Okay, now we're going to Let's Chat. Say hi and you hang out. Okay,
Hello,
chat time. A BRB screen. I will type it. BRB.
Are
Agua.
we
What's good?
subscribed to PragerU on the YouTube channel?